Master the art of strategic dominance. This is Sun Tzu's wisdom for the modern age.
Sun Tzu's Chapter 7 revealed the ultimate formula for tactical superiority. Tactical concept, what he calls the artifice of deviation. Principle 3, the wind, forest, fire, mountain system. Chapter 7 teaches an army without supply is doomed. Remember Chapter 7's ultimate lesson, he will conquer. In the time it takes you to watch this sentence, 3 market leaders just lost their competitive advantage forever. Here's the brutal mathematics of strategic timing that's reshaping every industry on Earth. Market entry position determines everything first place captures. 42% market share, second place. 23% third place and beyond. Less than 10% each. Companies deciding within 1 week maintain 78% competitive advantage. Those taking over a month, just 23%. What if winning isn't about fighting harder, but about mastering the ancient art of strategic maneuvering? 2,500 years ago, Sun Tzu's Chapter 7 revealed the ultimate formula for tactical superiority. Today, Amazon, Tesla, and Netflix all use these principles to outmaneuver modern competitors. By the end of this video, you'll master the tactical frameworks from Chapter 7 that turn strategic timing into sustainable dominance. But first, let me show you why 60% of companies faced weeks-long supply disruptions, while others thrived in the same chaos. Here's what every business school gets wrong about competition. They teach you to analyze competitors, optimize operations, and benchmark against industry standards. But Sun Tzu's Chapter 7, titled Maneuvering, understood something revolutionary about the nature of tactical advantage that modern strategists are just rediscovering. Chapter 7 opens with this profound insight. The difficulty of tactical maneuvering consists in turning the devious into the direct and misfortune into gain. This isn't about trickery, it's about strategic routing that makes competition irrelevant. The chapter teaches us that the indirect path, when taken strategically, often beats the direct path taken hastily. Netflix mastered this principle perfectly. In 2007, while generating 97% of revenue from DVDs, they took the devious route, secretly building streaming technology while competitors focused on physical media. When the market shifted, Netflix had already positioned themselves at the destination. Blockbuster's direct approach to video rental led to bankruptcy. Netflix's strategic maneuvering created a $240 billion empire. This is tactical superiority at its highest level, not just moving fast, but maneuvering strategically to arrive first by taking the less obvious route. If this resonates with your competitive challenges, hit that like button. It tells me you're ready to stop reacting and start leading through strategic maneuvers. Before we dive into Chapter 7's tactical frameworks, let's diagnose the 3 traps that keep 95% of organizations stuck in reactive mode. Trap number 1, timing blindness. You miss the strategic moments that define entire industries. Chapter 7 teaches, he who is first in the field and awaits the coming of the enemy will be fresh for the fight. He who is second in the field and has to hasten to battle will arrive exhausted. Harvard Business School research shows 75% of market entry failures come from timing errors. Tesla didn't just build electric cars, they built charging infrastructure, first arriving fresh at the competitive field while others rushed in exhausted. Trap number 2, speed without strategy. You confuse motion with progress. Chapter 7 warns, if you set a fully equipped army in march in order to snatch an advantage, the chances are that you will be too late. On the other hand, to detach a flying column for the purpose involves the sacrifice of its baggage and stores. McKinsey research proves companies focusing on 3 or fewer business areas are 52% more profitable than diversified competitors. Speed without strategic focus destroys value. Trap number 3, terrain ignorance. You don't understand the competitive landscape. Chapter 7 declares we are not fit to lead an army on the march unless we are familiar with the face of the earth, country, its mountains and forests, its pitfalls and precipices, its marshes and swamps. Systrix analysis shows top 3 search results capture 75% of clicks. Nielsen research proves optimal retail locations generate 1.8 times average sales. Understanding your competitive terrain where the strategic high ground exists determines victory. Here's what's fascinating. The Dora research of 31,000 professionals found that elite organizations deploy code 208 times more frequently than low performers, but they also have 50% fewer failures. Strategic maneuvering and quality aren't opposites. They're synergistic when you master Chapter 7's principles. Now we encounter Sun Tzu's most sophisticated tactical concept, what he calls the artifice of deviation. Chapter 7 states, thus, to take a long and circuitous route after enticing the enemy out of the way, and those starting after him, to contrive to reach the goal before him, shows knowledge of the artifice of deviation. This is the heart of tactical genius. Arriving first by taking the strategic route, not the obvious one. Southwest Airlines mastered this perfectly. While major airlines fought over hub, airports the direct approach requiring massive infrastructure investment, Southwest took the devious route secondary airports with point-to-point flights. This apparent disadvantage became their greatest strength. 10-minute turnarounds versus industry average of 35 minutes, 47 consecutive years of profitability followed. This is strategic, maneuvering using competitive disadvantages as tactical advantages. They didn't compete in the existing game. They created a new game where their chosen path was actually the fastest. Chapter 7 teaches us that tactical superiority comes from understanding that the shortest distance between 2 points isn't always a straight line in competitive environments. Sometimes the devious route, the one competitors ignore, becomes the direct route to victory. Amazon Web Services exemplifies this. While competitors fought in retail, the direct battlefield, Amazon quietly built cloud infrastructure. This circuitous route through enterprise services became the direct path to $40 billion, annual revenue, and 70% market share. If you're starting to see how these ancient tactical insights can revolutionize your modern approach to competition, hit that subscribe button with notifications on. What comes next will show you exactly how to implement Chapter 7's principles systematically. This is where everything changes. From this point forward, we're building capability, the actual systems and frameworks that will make you unstoppable in competitive environments. Sun Tzu's Chapter 7 gives us 5 integrated frameworks for tactical maneuvering mastery. Framework 1, the first in field principle. Chapter 7 teaches, having collected an army and concentrated his forces, he must blend and harmonize the different elements thereof before pitching his camp. After that comes tactical maneuvering, than which there is nothing more difficult. The principle is clear: arrive at the competitive field first, establish your position with preparation and harmony, then maneuver from strength. Tesla's supercharger network, Amazon's AWS infrastructure, Apple's App Store, ecosystem all demonstrate first-in-field advantage. Your action step: conduct a pre-market infrastructure audit. Identify 3 emerging trends where you can build critical infrastructure before competitors recognize the opportunity. What can you build today that will exhaust competitors tomorrow? Let me tell you about the moment that changed everything for Brian Chesky, co-founder of Airbnb. It was October 2008. The financial crisis had devastated travel. 3 young entrepreneurs faced impossible odds against hotel giants worth hundreds of billions. Here's where Chapter 7's principle of deviation became their salvation. Instead of competing with hotels directly, the direct path requiring billions, they chose the devious path, turning private homes into temporary accommodations. Chapter 7 teaches maneuvering with an army is advantageous with an undisciplined multitude, most dangerous. Airbnb started small, maintaining maneuverability, gradually building discipline into their platform. They didn't rush with an unprepared force, they maneuvered strategically. Their real genius was applying tactical deception. Hotels saw a budget accommodation platform. Airbnb was actually building a global community marketplace that would transform travel. They positioned themselves where competitors weren't looking. Today, Airbnb operates in 220 countries with over $75 billion market cap. But here's the emotional truth: it wasn't just clever tactics. It was courage, the willingness to take the devious route others couldn't see, trusting Chapter 7's ancient wisdom. Every successful application of tactical maneuvering requires this foundation: move strategically in directions competitors ignore, arrive first by taking the longer but smarter route, trust tactical intelligence over conventional wisdom. Now we unlock the 5 maneuver principles from Chapter 7 that turn strategic timing into sustainable dominance. Principle 2, the deviation strategy. Chapter 7 states the difficulty of tactical maneuvering consists in turning the devious into the direct and misfortune into gain. Nintendo's Wii proves this brilliantly. While Sony and Microsoft fought graphics wars, the direct battlefield, Nintendo took motion controls and family gaming. Over 100 million units sold. The indirect approach isn't trickery, it's choosing unconventional paths that become the fastest route. your indirect approach framework. Map the conventional battles your competitors fight. Identify 3 unguarded segments or use cases they ignore. Design unconventional routes leveraging your unique strengths. Chapter 7 teaches that the devious route, taken with wisdom, always beats the direct route taken with haste. Principle 3, the wind, forest, fire, mountain system. This is Chapter 7's most famous passage. Let your rapidity be that of the wind, your compactness that of the forest. In raiding and plundering be like fire, in immovability like a mountain. 4 execution modes for 4 situations. Wind mode for rapid. Experiments Amazon's 2 pizza teams, testing new products at incredible speed. Forest mode for quiet preparation. Apple's secret iPhone development from 2004 to 2007. Fire mode for aggressive capture. Uber's rapid city-by-city expansion from 2010 to 2015. Mountain mode for defensive consolidation. Google's unwavering search position through continuous algorithm refinement. Your elemental execution matrix. Classify every project by wind, forest, fire, or mountain. Assign appropriate speed, resources, and visibility to each. Chapter 7 teaches that winners use all 4 modes strategically, not just one. Principle 4, terrain mastery. Chapter 7 declares we are not fit to lead an army on the march unless we are familiar with the face of the earth, country, its mountains and forests, its pitfalls and precipices, its marshes and swamps. We shall be unable to turn natural advantages to account unless we make use of local guides. In modern competition, terrain means market structure, customer behavior patterns, distribution channels, and regulatory environments. Local guides means industry experts, strategic partners, and customer insights. Systrix shows top 3 search results capture 75% of clicks. That's the strategic high ground. Nielsen proves optimal retail locations generate 1.8 times average sales. That's occupying key terrain. Boston Consulting Group confirms companies focusing on 3 or fewer areas achieve 52% higher profitability. That's concentration of force on critical terrain. Your strategic terrain mapping. Identify your industry's high ground, the most important positions. Analyze current occupation status. Discover unoccupied key terrain where competitors haven't yet positioned. Concentrate minimum resources to secure maximum advantage. Chapter 7 teaches know the terrain better than your enemy, and victory follows naturally. Principle 5, supply line security. Chapter 7 warns, we may take it then that an army without its baggage train is lost without provisions. It is lost without bases of supply. It is lost. In modern terms, tools and systems are your baggage train. Cash flow is your provisions. Funding capability and partnerships are your supply bases. CB Insights reports 38% of startup failures come from running out of cash, exactly what Chapter 7 predicted 25 centuries ago. Google's advertising revenue, their supply base, allows them to offer Gmail and Maps for free. Amazon's AWS profits their supply. Bayes enable their retail business to sustain thin margin competition. Tesla's emission credit income funded development during lean years. PMI research shows 11.4% of investment, $109 million per billion dollars is wasted due to decision delays. Harvard Business Review reports companies executing strategic retreats have 67% revival rates within 5 years versus 23% for stubborn continuers. Chapter 7's wisdom, knowing when to preserve your supply lines, is as critical as knowing when to advance. Your supply line audit. Evaluate the health of your current funding, sources, and revenue models. Assess your strategic partners and funding. Access your supply bases. Calculate the reserves needed for extended campaigns. Chapter 7 teaches an army without supply is doomed, no matter how brave its soldiers. These 5 principles create a symphony of maneuver when integrated. Airbnb demonstrated all 5 pre-positioning during market disruption, deviation through private homes, elemental execution with rapid, then stable growth, terrain advantage and authentic experiences, and careful supply management during growth. If these principles are transformative, like and subscribe. Which of Chapter 7's 5 principles will you prioritize for your next strategic move? Here's the ultimate insight from Chapter 7 True. Competitive advantage comes not from moving faster, but from mastering the art of tactical maneuvering, arriving first by taking the strategic route. Chapter 7 states, he will conquer who has learnt the artifice of deviation. Such is the art of maneuvering. Stop trying to win isolated battles. Create a strategic rhythm of tactical superiority. That makes winning inevitable over time. Amazon's relentless rhythm keeps competitors copying yesterday. While Amazon moves 3 steps ahead, Tesla and Netflix don't just move fast, they move with strategic unpredictability grounded in Chapter 7's principles. This rhythm becomes your ultimate competitive advantage, the difference between a one-hit wonder and a dynasty. It lets you create categories, set standards, and solve problems others don't recognize yet. Now comes reality check. McKinsey shows 89% of strategic initiatives derail from predictable killers. Chapter 7 warns, we may take it then that an army without its baggage train is lost without provisions. It is lost without bases of supply, it is lost. Translation, tactical maneuvering without systems dies. Tactical killer, one speed without strategy. PMI reports 11.4% of investment, 109 million precipices. Billion is wasted due to directionless speed. Chapter 7 teaches, if you set a fully equipped army in march in order to snatch an advantage, the chances are that you will be too late. On the other hand, to detach a flying column for the purpose involves the sacrifice of its baggage and stores. If you march 50 miles to outmaneuver the enemy, you'll lose half your force. If you march 30 miles, 2/3 arrive. The wisdom balanced speed with force preservation. Your antidote balances speed protocol. Dora research confirms elite organizations deploy 208 times more frequently, with 50% fewer failures, strategic sophistication, not reckless speed. Amazon's day, one culture sustained 28% annual growth for 28 years. By balancing urgency with systems, what decision are you rushing that should follow? Chapter 7's wisdom of measured tactical advancement, tactical killer to terrain ignorance. Chapter 7 declares we cannot enter into alliances until we are acquainted with the designs of our neighbors. In modern terms, don't enter markets without understanding competitive structure, customer behavior, and strategic partnerships. Harvard Business School confirms 75% of market entry failures come from terrain. Misreading, entering at wrong time, wrong place, or wrong manner. Your strategic intelligence system. Invest heavily in understanding your competitive terrain before maneuvering. Google's China entry and exit decision from 2006 to 2010 exemplified terrain-based strategic judgment. They understood when terrain was unfavorable and executed tactical retreat. Tactical killer 3 signal confusion. Chapter 7 teaches through the Book of Army Management. On the field of battle, the spoken word does not carry far enough, hence the institution of gongs and drums. Nor can ordinary objects be seen clearly enough, hence the institution of banners and flags. Modern translation established clear decision rights, simple KPIs, and unified communication protocols. In large organizations, tactical coordination depends on clear signals everyone understands. Chapter 7 continues, gongs and drums, banners and flags are means whereby the ears and eyes of the host may be focused on one particular point. The host thus forming a single united body. It is impossible either for the brave to advance alone or for the cowardly to retreat alone. Netflix's context, not control culture, exemplifies this clear context. Signals enabling coordinated tactical action without micromanagement. PMI research confirms 11.4% of investment waste comes from decision confusion and delays. Your unified command system. Implement DRI, directly responsible individuals for every initiative. Establish simple, universally understood success metrics. Chapter 7's ancient wisdom remains unified. Signals enable coordinated maneuvers. Tactical killer 4 spirit depletion. Chapter 7 warns a whole army may be robbed of its spirit. A commander-in-chief may be robbed of his presence of mind. Now a soldier's spirit is keenest in the morning by noonday. It has begun to flag, and in the evening, his mind is bent only on returning to camp. Energy is finite. Timing affects productivity. Sustainable pacing is mandatory. Chapter 7 teaches, a clever general therefore avoids an army when its spirit is keen, but attacks it when it is sluggish and inclined to return. This is the art of studying moods. Your energy management protocol implements sprint and recovery cycles. Schedule critical decisions during peak energy periods mornings for most teams. Google's 20% time generated, 40% of innovations by preserving creative energy. Project Aristotle proves psychological safety, increases productivity 35%. The modern validation of Chapter 7 spirit management. These tactical killers will test every move. Companies that anticipate and neutralize them don't just survive the speed economy, they define it through superior tactical maneuvering. If these frameworks help overcome tactical barriers, like and subscribe. Chapter 7's wisdom has survived 25 centuries because it addresses fundamental truths of competitive dynamics. What happens when you mistake motion for tactical maneuvering and speed for strategic positioning? 5 years from now, 4 catastrophic failures await those who ignore Chapter 7's wisdom. Failure 1: supply line collapse. Just as Chapter 7 warned, an army without its baggage train is lost without provisions. It is lost without bases of supply. It is lost. Startup Genome reports 74% of scale-up failures come from premature expansion advancing without securing supply lines. Failure 2: terrain disadvantage. Market structure understanding matters. Blockbuster versus Netflix exemplified this. One understood Chapter 7's deviation principle. The other fought on unfavorable terrain until eliminated. Failure 3: spirit depletion. Unsustainable pacing destroys organizations. Chapter 7 teaches in the evening, the soldier's mind is bent only on returning to camp. When your entire organization reaches evening, exhausted and disengaged, no tactical brilliance can save you. Failure 4: maneuver incapacity. Legacy systems and organizational rigidity eliminate tactical flexibility. Chapter 7 warned, if you set a fully equipped army in March, you will be too late. Companies weighed down by accumulated equipment lose the ability to maneuver strategically. InnoSight predicts S&P 500 company average lifespan will be 12 years by 2027. The fate of organizations lacking tactical maneuvering capability. If this future concerns you, we can prevent it through Chapter 7's timeless principles. Are you practicing true tactical maneuvering or merely moving without strategic purpose? Chapter 7 demands honest self-assessment through 4 diagnostic questions. Question 1: are you practicing the deviation principle? Do you avoid direct confrontation, choosing strategic detours, or do you only attempt frontal assaults? Chapter 7 teaches to take a long and circuitous route and contrive to reach the goal before him, shows knowledge of the artifice of deviation. Question 2: are you using wind, forest, fire, mountain? Do you vary execution modes by situation? Or do you always move at the same speed and method? Chapter 7 teaches situational adaptation is the essence of tactical excellence. Question 3: have you secured terrain advantage? Do you understand and occupy market high ground? Or are you following competitors reactively? Chapter 7 teaches we are not fit to lead an army on the march unless we are familiar with the face of the country. Question 4: are your supply lines secure? Can you sustain extended campaigns financially and organizationally? Or are you limited to short-term gambits? Chapter 7 warns supply security is the foundation of all tactical operations. Before you make your next move, Chapter 7 counsels. Ponder and deliberate before you make a move. This is the moment for reflection and strategic recalibration. Now we integrate everything into Chapter 7 Tactical Excellence System. 3 unified principles, all from Chapter 7, create sustainable competitive advantage. Principle 1: deviation mastery. Chapter 7 teaches the difficulty of tactical maneuvering consists in turning the devious into the direct and misfortune into gain. Your practical tools: indirect route. Mapper discover market paths competitors ignore. Disadvantage inverter convert apparent weaknesses into tactical strengths. Timing optimizer designs strategic schedules that let you start later, but arrive first. Principle 2: elemental execution. Chapter 7's most famous teaching. Let your rapidity be that of the wind, your compactness that of the forest. In raiding and plundering, be like fire, in immovability like a mountain. Your practical tools mode. Classify or categorize every project as wind, forest, fire, or mountain. Execution calibrator assign optimal speed and resources to each mode. Transition manager determine when to shift between modes strategically. Principle 3: supply line security. Chapter 7's foundation. We may take it then that an army without its baggage train is lost without provisions. It is lost without bases of supply. It is lost. Your practical tools: resource health. Monitor, evaluate funding, talent, and partnership health continuously. Strategic reserve calculator determine reserves needed for extended campaigns. Retreat criteria establish clear decision points for tactical withdrawal to preserve forces. These 3 principles create an integrated tactical system. Now let's make it concrete with your 30-day Chapter 7 Mastery Challenge. Week 1: terrain intelligence. Chapter 7 demands we are not fit to lead an army on the march unless we are familiar with the face of the country. Day 1 through 3, conduct exhaustive industry terrain analysis, market structure, competitive positioning, customer dynamics. Day 4 through 5, identify 20 strategic high ground positions in your market. Day 6 through 7, secure local. Guides industry experts and strategic partners who know the terrain. Deliverable strategic terrain map, showing high ground, approaches, and current occupation. Week 2 deviation strategy. Chapter 7 teaches to take a long and circuitous route after enticing the enemy out of the way, and those starting after him to contrive to reach the goal before him. Day 8 through 10, analyze competitors' direct routes where they're committing resources. Day 11 through 12, design 3 indirect routes leveraging your unique capabilities. Day 13 through 14, select optimal deviation strategy and create execution plan. Deliverable indirect attack plan with specific routes, timelines, and resource requirements. Week 3, elemental execution. Chapter 7 commands, let your rapidity be that of the wind, your compactness that of the forest. In raiding and plundering, be like fire, in immovability like a mountain. Day 15 through 17, classify all projects by wind, forest, fire, or mountain. Day 18 through 19, assign appropriate speed, resources, and visibility to each mode. Day 20 through 21, execute initial maneuvers and measure effectiveness. Deliverable elemental execution matrix with mode. Assignments and performance metrics. Week 4, integration and fortification. Chapter 7 concludes, he will conquer, who has learnt the artifice of deviation, such is the art of maneuvering. Day 22 through 24, integrate 3 weeks of learning into unified tactical strategy. Day 25 through 26, fortify supply lines, secure funding, talent, and partnerships. Day 27 through 30, design next 30-day tactical cycle based on Chapter 7 principles. Deliverable Chapter 7 master. Plan your complete tactical maneuvering strategy. Success metrics aligned with Chapter 7. Deviation effectiveness, achieving competitive advantage 30% faster than competitors starting later but arriving first. Elemental balance, appropriate use of all 4 execution modes based on situation. Supply line health, maintaining 3+ months. Operating reserves and strategic partnerships. Terrain advantage, number and quality of strategic positions. Secured through first mover tactics. 25 centuries ago, Sun Tzu's Chapter 7 revealed that victory belongs not to those who move fastest, but to those who maneuver most strategically. The art of turning the devious into the direct, taking the long route to arrive, first remains the ultimate competitive advantage. Today, Amazon masters the first-in-field principle with AWS infrastructure, built years before market maturity. Tesla practices wind, forest, fire, mountain, with perfect timing across development, launch, and consolidation phases. Netflix perfected the deviation strategy, taking the streaming detour while competitors fought over DVDs. You now have the same framework Sun Tzu gave to generals 25 centuries ago. The question isn't whether you can move fast, it's whether you can maneuver strategically. Chapter 7 teaches us the indirect route, traveled with wisdom and tactical intelligence, always beats the direct route. Traveled with haste and brute force. Start your 30-day Chapter 7 Mastery Challenge today. Document your deviation strategy, how you'll take the strategic detour to arrive before direct competitors. Share your first tactical maneuver using hashtag Chapter 7 Mastery. I'll feature the most brilliant applications of Sun Tzu's ancient tactical wisdom to modern competitive challenges. Remember Chapter 7's ultimate lesson, he will conquer, who has learnt the artifice of deviation, such is the art of maneuvering. Your competitive future depends not on how fast you move, but on how strategically you maneuver. The principles in Chapter 7 unchanged for 25 centuries await your application. The battlefield has changed. The principles have not. Go forth and maneuver.